Yo, what is going on, guys? My name is McDuck33 and welcome back to another ranking video. So as we all know, 2021 has been one hell of a year. This is when COVID started to escalate more than it already had, and things were just generally hard. But one of the things that saved me was video games. Over the last year, my Steam library has more than doubled in the amount of games and DLC that I've bought. So I thought that as the year is coming to an end, I would tell you all of what some of my favorite games were that I started/played this year. Keep in mind that not all of these games have been released this year. In fact, I don't know that any have. Starting this list off strong is the game you're seeing in the background gameplay, The Outer Worlds. I started playing this game back in 2020, but it didn't really work. I had a weird bug where dialogue would take 9 years to load, and it just wasn't fun to play. However, in about February of this year, I was messing around with some settings and I turned off, I think it was VSync. It was either VSync or G-Sync. And I don't have one idea how in the world this solved the bug, but now, the game runs great. Anyways, for those unfamiliar with this game, The Outer Worlds is a semi-open world RPG. The reason I say semi-open world is because although there are technically open worlds to explore, they're not terribly big, with the exception of Monarch, which is the planet you're seeing in the background. And I don't really have fun exploring them. And that is really my biggest issue with the game. One of the reasons I love RPGs so much is because of all the cool stuff the devs pack into the world. However, although it has some mediocre exploration, everything else is just spectacular. The characters are fun and engaging. The story, albeit kind of boring on repeat playthroughs, is actually quite interesting the first time you run through it. And the combat is stellar. I almost think of this game as an RPG Borderlands. It's got a similar animation style, the same goofy, gory, and explicit gameplay, and great shooter combat. I think the best part of this game, though, has to be the leveling. I don't feel like I'm spending random skill points that will boost X skill by 2%, although the skill bonuses provided for reaching a certain skill level on something are not spectacular. They provide various other advantages. The game also has fantastic voice acting. I never really find myself getting bored in a conversation, and often the reason why I skip dialogue is to either speed up a part I don't like, or if I already know what someone's gonna say. The game is not without its flaws, which is why it lands a firm spot in number 5. Next up at number 4 is Subnautica Below Zero. This game has caused a lot of controversy in the Subnautica community as being not as good as the first one, and Subnautica but cold. And I'm not here to deny that. I do in fact like the first Subnautica better, but that doesn't mean that this one is inferior or bad. In fact, there are aspects of Below Zero that I do like better than the first Subnautica. I like the updated crafting recipes that make it just a little bit easier to make important things like titanium ingots. Oh my lord, it was a hell of a grind to get a titanium ingot in the first game. But trust me, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Ba-doom. Exploration in this game is fantastic, with biomes being colorful, diverse, and sometimes even a little bit scary. And although I was left with all my beautiful sea moth, I found that the sea truck did everything I wanted it to. There was no use for a Cyclops or a sea moth, because the sea truck could just do it all. The graphical design of this game is another stellar part that really stands out. The original Subnautica was beautiful, but if you venture down into medium or low graphics settings, the game looks significantly less cool. Down below zero. It doesn't matter what graphics settings your game is set to, this world will look amazing. I also believe that this game has a better story than the first. Yeah, the story of the first one was interesting, but I found myself more interested with the lore of the world more than the actual story itself. That is not the case at all for this game. The story for this game really drives the gameplay and exploration, and although I do think there might have been too many times where the game specifically tells you where to go with a waypoint, it often was because it held a really important role in the story. And the ending, oh my god, the ending. The ending for Below Zero has solidified itself as my favorite ending ever in any video game. And unless something really good comes along, that might not change. Now hopping in at number 3 is the Resident Evil 2 Remake. Me and this game have an interesting backstory. My friend recommended it to me, but I kinda just shrugged it off because I'm not normally one for horror games. I had it on my Steam wishlist for a couple of months before finally buying it, basically just out of peer pressure. I played it for about an hour and instantly fell in love with it. The environment and atmosphere that Capcom managed to create with this game is fantastic. And other than maybe the map design, it's the best thing about the game. I put roughly 40 hours into this game over 5 or 6 playthroughs within the first 2 weeks of me getting it. But it's not just the atmosphere and map design that get this far. The gameplay also plays a major role. You may think that the whole idea of, oh, there is a locked door here, better go find the key to it, might feel repetitive after a while, but it's really not. Before I continue, there are some gameplay spoilers coming up, so skip ahead or continue on if you don't care. I'll try to put a timestamp on the screen for when it's safe to come back. The main thing that makes the gameplay interesting is Mr. X, or the Tyrant. This guy is an absolute unit and will stop at nothing to put a dent in your forehead, even stepping over his own zombies. You discover him about halfway through the game and he stalks the police station for the rest of it. His reveal still holds one of my biggest oh crap moments in all of gaming. The other aspects of the game are pretty good as well, although any game has its problems. Zombies, even hitting them in the head, take far too many shots to kill. And sometimes you'll even just get trapped in a corner by a couple of zombies, and you'll just have to accept your fate. And the story, although it is pretty good the first time, is kind of boring on repeat playthroughs. But don't let that demoralize you. If you were on the edge about getting this game, you definitely should, because it is one hell of the journey. Coming in at number 2 on today's list is a collection of games that I'm going to call From Software games. This includes Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne, and Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Now before you go down into the comments section and rant to me about how all of these games are different and how I shouldn't rank them together, let me explain. All 3 of these games are spectacular, but if I rank them all separately, then most of this list would probably be From Software games. Each of these games has something different to offer, and I'm actually going to do a little mini ranking right now. In third for this little trio, I'm going to put Bloodborne. This is going to upset a lot of people, but I just don't enjoy Bloodborne as much. I'm not sure what it is. Next, I'm going to put Sekiro, mostly for having my all-time favorite combat system in any game. It is truly fantastic and really great. And coming in at the top is Dark Souls 3. This game is fantastic, and really what I wanted to put on this list. However, then I thought about Bloodborne and Sekiro, and I just really couldn't decide between the 3. Think of this as a Dark Souls 3 main dish with a side of Bloodborne and Sekiro. The main reason why I love Dark Souls 3 so much is, well, I can't really nail down one main reason. I love the combat. It's fluid, it's smooth, every weapon is unique, but I don't know why I love the game so much. Maybe it's the medieval theme, or the interesting lore. No, I think I do know why, what makes me come back again and again to try out different builds. I do know what has caused me to drop 150 hours on the game. The bosses. The majority of the game's bosses are spectacular, housing some of my favorites ever, such as Champion Gundyr, Abyss Watchers, and Soul of Cinder. But it does have some issues, such as annoying enemy types like Jailers and Guru, and some of the areas are just a pain in the ass to go through, like Farron Keep, or Road of Sacrifices, or Grand Archives. I could honestly go on. The game is very balanced, where there is a decent amount of disappointing content, paired with a decent amount of good content. But then you may be asking why I put it up so high. Because when the content is good, it's really, really good. Every boss that is anything but Crystal Sage or Curse-Rotted Greatwood is still fun to fight at worst, and downright spectacular at best. Fights like Slave Knight Gale are emotionally powerful, fights like Champion Gundyr get the adrenaline pumping, and fights like Yorm the Giant have nice bits of lore, and make you feel really powerful. But I think the thing that I really enjoy above all else is the music. Every soundtrack in this game is spectacular, from the track that plays on the title screen, albeit if it is a little bit too loud, all the way to the final track that plays during the Soul of Cinder fight. Each song is crafted in a way that fits the situation, and goddamn does it do it good. Dark Souls 3 is a fantastic game with one of my favorite soundtracks, with a spectacular set of gameplay mechanics to go with it. However, there is still one more game that tops both of those categories. Before we jump into the top spot for this list, I would like to give a couple of honorable mentions. These are games that I absolutely love, but not more than these 5. They include, but are not limited to, Borderlands 3 on the PC, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, Cyberpunk 2077, Sea of Thieves, and Days Gone. These are all amazing games, and if you want to check them out, I highly recommend you do so, as I guarantee you will have a good time. Now, the final entry on today's list, the game that I loved the most out of all the games that I played in 2021. This game is Hollow Knight. Honestly, didn't see what else it would be. I could search through my Steam library, my Epic Games library, my PlayStation library, and nothing would come close to rivaling this #1 spot. I am here to say that Hollow Knight is a perfect game. I scavenged my mind when making this script for one thing that made this game not perfect, and came up with one thing. Just one. Primal Aspids. Everything else in this game is amazing. The level design, the bosses, the music, the lore, everything is as perfect as ever. There are no performance issues, no loading screens, no screen tearing, no lag, no nothing. I run this game at like a solid couple hundred frames a second. I'm going to stop my little rant there and actually get into why I love this game so much, but this game is perfect. Let's start with level design. Each area is crafted in a way that makes it feel like a maze the first time you come through, but after going through enough, you no longer need your map or wayward compass or any navigational item. And accompanying the level design is the music. Each track fits perfectly with what it goes with. Even some of the lesser tracks, like the Forgotten Crossroads, do a great job at what it's meant to do. The track makes you feel like you're in a forgotten place, somewhere that isn't cared about anymore. Whereas Green Path has a track that is lively and playful, like the plants that grow everywhere. And even the boss soundtracks are fantastic. Hornet has an iconic track, but there are even better ones like Nightmare King and Grim Troop, which leads me to my next topic, bosses. Every boss in this game is okay at worst. Yes, I do have a clip on my computer of me killing Flukmarm in less than 30 seconds. And yes, it is titled, Flukmarm is so easy, the fight fits into this 30-second clip. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to fight Flukmarm. Yes, some fights are complete jokes, looking at you, Massive Moss Charger, but honestly it's a nice breather from some of the more challenging fights, like Sentinel Hornet or the Grims, which is another thing I want to talk about. Nightmare King Grim. Some of you may agree, some of you may disagree. This boss, in my opinion, is the pinnacle of gaming bosses. Cool arena? Check. Banger soundtrack? Check. Difficult but doable fight? Check. Everything about this fight makes me happy each and every time I go back, whether it's in a new playthrough or in a Hall of Gods, and fight this guy. Now, okay, let's come down a bit. This one entry alone has taken up almost 2 pages of the script. In comparison, every other has taken up like a page and a half. So let me come to what I believe the best thing about this game is. The thing that I'm truly excited for every time I start a new game. The City of Tears. Yes, the bosses are great. Yes, the soundtrack is my favorite out of any game. Yes, the lore surrounding Hollow Nest is interesting and fantastic. But in my opinion, the City of Tears, here it goes, is the pinnacle of all gaming. Yes, I just said that. This one level represents what I believe to be the best level in all of gaming, and what game devs should look at when designing a game. And instead of just adding a City of Tears, strive to make their entire game a City of Tears. Let me explain what makes this level so great. The City of Tears has great design in both a vertical and horizontal approach. There are 3 sections, and each one you unlock as you progress further and further through the game. The atmosphere is spot on, having tears, I put that in quotes, dripping from the bottom of the blue lake into the city, giving the effect that it's raining. The music for the area is spectacular and my favorite in the entire game, being very mellow and almost saddening as you walk the streets of a fallen empire's capital. The placement on the map is great too, being the center of the map, which, kind of makes sense considering it's the capital of Hollownest. And the enemy choice is great too. The flying dudes, although they can be annoying, test how well you can fight while also being aware of your surroundings. The big guards near King's Station show you don't have to engage in every fight. And the other smaller enemies show a corrupted people with no will left in them, roaming an abandoned city. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like, and if you guys really enjoyed, be sure to subscribe, because that'd be awesome. You all have a great day, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.